Hello everyone, welcome back. It's been a while since I made another video, but who cares? I mean, I just make those to just have kind of a for future reference, to just have kind of a thing to go back to. I don't know. I came across this quiz today, and I thought I'd give it a try. Obviously, the title is very inflammatory. Are you sexist? Take the quiz. So yeah, and the twist about this quiz is that it's about two types of sexism. So let's get through the introduction and see what it's all about. Overt prejudice against women is hard to miss, but decades of research suggest that subtle sexism can be just as damaging, but often go unnoticed. Alright, so right off the bat, I mean, I don't know, the problem now that I'm dealing with making this video is that I already have drawn certain conclusions about the nature of this quest, and going back to the article, it just seems all the sadder. And it's not like I don't feel for them, and apparently this writer has some brains. I mean, somehow the quiz makes sense if you think about it, but we'll get to that. Peter Glick of Lawrence University in Appleton, Wisconsin, and Susan Fisk of Princeton University have spent 20 years studying the subject. In 1996, they published a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology that introduced a theory they called ambivalent sexism. Sorry, I had grabbed a beer and I was planning on drinking it, but I already got too much into it, so I need to stop myself for a second. The idea behind it is this: ambivalent sexism, right? Sexism is multidimensional and more nuanced than many people realize, and it comes in two forms: hostile and benevolent. I mean, again, yes and no. I mean, it's not like there aren't people who behave that way, and there isn't a kind of but it's not. I mean, yeah. The thing is, there are there have been gender roles for most of our history, and that's kind of what we have been accustomed to. And I think that's more part of how we think about things around us, you know. And I mean, it's a framework. It's not the best, maybe, but that's just the way it is. But it's not about hostile or benevolent sexism. It is about common sense, and we'll get to that again. I really, I have to say, this has been a humbling experience for me, and it's weird, I didn't expect to come across this, but this idiot, this stupid test somehow managed to... Alright. Hostile sexism describes behavior that overtly threatens, intimidates, or abuses women. Benevolent sexism describes positive attitudes and actions that men take toward women that are based deep down in feelings of superiority and dominance. It's not superiority or dominance, because, and we'll see that in your quiz in a moment. In short, hostile sexism represents the ideological stick, and benevolent sexism represents the carrot that men use to reinforce the gender status quo, Glick wrote in 2007. This is so... because it's not like women don't do that kind of thing, and mostly with women it's more like the sex itself, used as a tool, I guess, or as a carrot on a stick, and it definitely is. You can't deny that. But it's just the way men and women relate to each other, and it has nothing to do... I mean, it has to do with dominance, but that's part of what relationships are, It is kind of a struggle for dominance, and the whole point of it actually is to find an equilibrium between the two. So let's go through this and I'll tell you what happened. Together, Fisk and Glick developed the Ambivalent Sexism Inventory, a questionnaire that explores people's tendencies toward hostile and benevolent sexism. These 22 questions aren't designed to diagnose a respondent as sexist or not, and the results aren't nationally representative, but the researchers say the quiz can shed light onto whether an individual harbors attitudes associated with sexism. So, at least there's this disclaimer here. I actually went straight through to the quiz first time I opened it. So maybe that's part of the mistake I made. But I still believe the fact that they made a test about sexism, is kind of if not biased or if not sexist in itself, it's at least projecting, and that's the problem of it. And you have to hear these statements to understand how idiotic this is. I mean, it's brilliant in a sense. The sheer it's pretty mind-boggling. So what I did was go based on what I would think their expectations would be what I would think they would expect to be the most sexist answer each time. So I went for agreeing or disagreeing strongly with all of the questions. So let's see if I can recreate it, but if not, I have proof that I did the test that way. So, many women have a quality of purity that few men possess. So I disagreed strongly with that. And it's not, the joke is that I used to think that was true, that women are indeed, morally superior in some way or whatever. So I just disagreed strongly. But in my case, it's more of a, sense of embitterment, I guess. The way I answered. So women should be cherished and protected by men. I think I agreed strongly with this, but I think maybe not. But let's just go with it. Because I think, agreeing strongly with most of them, I think if you agree strongly with all of them, alright, now I already gave the trick away. Women seek to gain power by getting control over men. I think I agreed strongly, but whatever. I'll just agree strongly, whatever. Every man ought to have a woman whom he adores. I agreed strongly because I do believe, this is such a stupid question. I mean, I think every man ought to have a woman whom he adores. It's not even that I agree that every man ought to have a woman who adores him, And what's wrong with having a woman who you adore? Why shouldn't every man have that? And why shouldn't every woman have a man whom they adore, for that matter, So I agreed strongly. But I guess this is sexism. Men are incomplete without women. I disagreed strongly. And I was right about that. But, I could agree strongly and probably whatever. Women exaggerate problems they have at work. Agree strongly. Because it's true. Once a woman gets a man to commit to her, she usually tries to put him on a tight leash. I agree strongly just for the heck of it. But this is hostile sexism, I can already smell it. When women lose to men in a fair competition, they typically complain about being discriminated against. Let's just go with it. Many women get a kick out of teasing men by seeming sexually available and then refusing male advances. It happens. I'm just gonna go through these now, because that's the way. I mean, that's not the way I did it, but it was pretty close. And sorry. Women compared to men tend to have superior moral sensibility. Disagree strongly, obviously, but I should agree strongly just for the sake of the experiment. But maybe we'll do that next. Men should be willing to sacrifice their own well-being in order to provide financially for the women in their lives. So I'm just going to disagree strongly with that. Feminists are making unreasonable demands of men. Obviously. I agree strongly with that. So, but yeah, you can see the bias there. But you'll see it's interesting that it doesn't affect the test. Or it does, but you have to, and that's the problem. What is your gender identity? Male, obviously. 1834, no. College 2-year degree, bachelor's degree actually. Almost, but I'm just gonna include it because, come on. So, alright, sorry about that. Less than, far less. Okay. Submit. So as you're gonna see, oh, it's not even that bad. Huh? Oh no, it is. So as you can see, I have full on hostile sexism now, because I just. But I don't think it's even, I just went overboard. I could agree with all of them. What would happen if I agreed with all of them? They would be both at 5. That's my theory now. So what I learned, someone actually took the quiz and got 0 on both. And he said he just disagreed strongly with all of them. And it makes sense, if you think about it. All those statements are false. Many women, except for the feminism thing, many women have a quality of purity that few men possess. Bullshit. Disagree strongly. And, the fact that this is the first question is pretty interesting. I think it's a sign that these people have actually thought about what they did here. Women should be cherished and protected by men. Disagree strongly. Even though I think they should. Why not? But I think, they take into account that that's more of an individual thing, I guess. Women seek to gain power by getting control over men. Obviously, not all women do that, so you can't say that as a rule about women, Even though I do think it's a female trait. Every man ought to have a woman whom he adores. It just breaks my heart to have to disagree strongly in order to get the results they want, Men are incomplete without women. Disagree strongly. Okay. I agree that I disagree with that. Women exaggerate, but even though I do think men are incomplete, and I do think women are incomplete without men. But that's a different story, I guess. Women exaggerate problems they have at work. Well, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. Once a woman gets a man to commit to her, she usually tries to put him on a tight leash. Disagree, yeah. Yes, mom, whatever you say. When women lose to men in fair competition, they typically complain about being discriminated against. The thing is, alright, disagree strongly, but I don't disagree. The thing is, it's true, but we'll just go through it that way. I'm just gonna blow this open, because this is just, actually, now that I read this out loud, this is despicable. It's really pernicious. Because they have the questions are biased. Many of them, not all of them, to be fair. There is a certain level of comprehension in there. Many women get a kick out of teasing men seemingly sexually available and then refusing male advances. Many women actually do that, and the problem with that is that men are actually expected to approach women. So women don't need to, if men were the ones being approached, they would be taking advantage of that as well. And teasing women. It's logical. But let's just pretend that's not the case. Women compared to men tend to have a superior moral sensibility. Disagree strongly. Men should be willing to sacrifice their own well-being in order to provide financially for... Okay. I find it, at least they're trying. Feminists are making unreasonable demands of men. I do agree, but, disagree strongly. What's your gender identity? Just to prove that this doesn't play a role. Prefer not to. You can even prefer not to answer, but that's not gonna No. I'm just gonna bachelor's degree or more. Less. Okay. I don't even know what that has to do with anything unless they're polling it. But all right. As you can see, it's all 0 now. And you know, I understand that this is the common sense approach to some extent, because some of the questions were just plain false. But I do agree that that's not about women, but more about feminism, and the fact that the question, you know, that's the problem. I don't know. Feminism is unreasonable. So this is what you get. So obviously, if you agree with everything, you'll have full-blown sexism in both hostile and benevolent. You know. So you're just like some kind of freak. So you know, let's just do it for the heck of it. I want to see what happens now. So yeah. I want to see what happens. Just to, but it's not. Yeah, it's not even important. I'm just gonna blow through this. I'm already convinced that that's what's gonna happen. So you know, the thing. I don't know. You know, it made me think. Because I do understand that my opinions were biased, or my answer, you know, I did overreact to a certain extent, or at least, you know, I made it as a joke. I made a screenshot of it, as I can show you, and the joke is that nobody could recreate it, even though it's not hard. I mean, all you have to do is agree strongly with everything. So let's just do that, and add that to the mix. I'm going to make a screenshot of that as well, so I'm gonna add that on Facebook as well. So you might as well watch me do it. The thing, but you know, again, it's interesting that it does require a common sense approach, but it does require a few steps extra. It does require you to take into account their biases as feminists. So it's interesting, but it's interesting that disagreeing with even, you know, it does make you think, you know. I feel awful. I don't know how to. Oh shit! What have I been doing? Have I been disagreeing again? No shit. All right, let's go back a few steps. Why? Okay, automatism. I've done this a few times. Well, 2 times now. Agree strongly. Agree strongly. Agree strongly. Agree strongly. Come on. Mail. I'm just gonna add the same. No. Same information, because why not, you know. I gotta compensate for my bad behavior. Bachelors, less than 30,000. I mean, who even makes, I mean, I can hardly imagine making 30,000. Okay, what's happening now? Okay, so yeah, as I expected, both are on 5 now. Interesting. So yeah, that's kind of my discovery for today. I still think it's pernicious, but I do agree that most of these statements are pipe dreams. Except worst case scenario, except for the one question about feminism asking too much. But there are other questions I'm highly doubtful of, and it's not generalizing about women. It's just more that the kind of position they're in and the kind of head start they get in society. I guess, you know, people just do stuff for them, and it's kind of expected of them to have that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really just, I feel like total shit now. Even though I pushed all the right buttons, you know. So yeah, thing is, if you agree with everything, you're a total sexist. But the thing is, nobody agrees with all these things, except maybe a few of these things that are like kind of idealism. You know, it's not sexism. In most cases, at least. You know, I don't know. I think it's very the fact alone that they have to probe people on whether they're sexist or not. I just think that's sort of bad enough as it is. But anyway, you know, it just seems like they're projecting. But anyway, hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something today. I'll see you next time, folks. Ta-ta.